Hello, my MGTOW brothers, back again and for another video. And in this one I want to extend the conversation that we started in my last video when we were talking about male mother need. And at the end of the video I wanted to talk about something related to this, which is what the Gnostics call the mystical marriage or the inner marriage. Something that Jung came up with and psychologists extended it, and it is something that is related to a symbol that we use earlier in the Esoteric MGTOW series, which is the Yin and Yang symbol. Now, I don't know if this actually belongs in the 101 series, because the topic and the related subject is a very, very deep dive into esotericism. It's a very, very complex subject and a very, very deep and personal subject to all men and women for that matter. So I don't know if a video of any length, much less video of this length, can do justice to such a deep and complex topic. Now, after saying that, we're going to give it a good try. But since it is esoteric, we're going to start with another symbol that you've seen in the past, which is the basics. But we're going to look at it from a different point of view. As you remember, looking at this particular diagram, the wavy lines represented the noon, which is female nature, which is the undivided or undifferentiated female nature. But according to esoteric wisdom, even though it was undifferentiated female nature, inherently the noon had a small unrealized masculine aspect. Now, when creation started and that masculine aspect became realized as Ptah, and the other half, the divided half, which was feminine, became what was left of the noon, which the two of them were their polarized reflections of each other. So just as the noon had inherent masculine qualities inside of it, the differentiated noon has masculine qualities inherent inside of it, albeit small, but it is inherent. And by the same token, Ptah, which represents the masculine, has inherent feminine qualities inside of it. Small, but it is inherent, it is there. So when we look at the symbol of yin and yang and see that male and female are polarized reflections of each other, we also see that each one of them has a small dot or a small circle that reflects a small aspect of its opposite member. The small dot represents the masculine potential and sometimes unrealized masculine potential in the feminine side. And by the same token, the small dot represents the small feminine potential inside the masculine. And if the universe has 10 times the dark matter or 10 times the feminine energy in it, the symbols will reflect the same thing, that the feminine side has 10 times the dark matter, 10 times the feminine energy than masculine energy. And if it's also true that the masculine is the polarized reflection of the feminine, that would mean that the masculine energy is 10 times greater in the masculine side then its feminine element. If as above, so below, it should reflect the same reality in the male and female form. And if we use male and female hormones as an example of this particular dynamic, then what should we see? The male hormone testosterone in men is 10 times greater than the female hormone estrogen in men. And women, as our polarized reflection, the female hormone estrogen is 10 times greater than its masculine counterpart inside the female. So now you're asking, where are you going with this, Black Gnostic, and how does this help me as a MGTOW? Well, now that we've set the groundwork and the foundation, we're going to get into its first application, which is how does this particular theory or this particular philosophy affect or explain male-female dynamics and relationships. Now, this phenomena was noticed by the great Gnostic psychologist Carl Jung. And to explain what he was seeing in his patients, he decided to use this particular kind of wisdom and these symbols as a representation of what he was actually seeing. Jung noticed in his patients that there was aspects of female nature living inside the psyche of men, and by the same token, there was aspects of male nature, masculine nature, living inside the psyche of women. So, intuitively, he took this symbol of yin and yang and replaced it with this one of his own to explain and theorize what was going inside the ego and the psyche of males and females. So he named each part Anima for the feminine aspect inside the psyche of men, and Animus for the male or masculine aspect that lived inside the psyche of women.
Jung observed that for every woman there was a masculine aspect within her psyche, the archetype of the Animus, and for every man a feminine counterpart, the Anima.
The Anima is an archetypal form expressing the fact that a man has a minority of feminine or female genes, and that is something that doesn't disappear in him. That is constantly present, and it works as a female in a man. The same is the case with the Animus. That is a masculine image in a woman's mind, which is not sometimes quite conscious, sometimes it is not conscious, but it is called into life the moment that woman meets a man who says the right things. And then because he said it is all true, and he is the fellow. No matter what he is.
Of the Animus.
Now see, the archetype is a force, it has an autonomy. It can suddenly seize you. It is like a seizure. So, for instance, falling in love at first sight, that is such a case. You see, you have a certain image in yourself without knowing it of the woman, of the woman. Now you see that girl, or at least a good imitation of your type, and instantly you get a seizure, and you're gone. And afterwards you may discover that it was a hell of a mistake.
The concepts of Animus and Anima emerged as Jung observed the lives and psychological realities of his patients, and they help in understanding both the pain and the delights of human relationship. Robert Johnson.
Man insists upon making some outer figure, generally a flesh and blood woman, bear his anima for him. That is, he mediates the outer world by way of his anima instead of using her inside where she belongs. This produces more suffering and more upset and more pain than any other single thing that I know about.
Oh, you see, a man is quite capable, he's intelligent enough to see that that woman of his choice, as one says, not no choice, he has been captured. You know, he sees that she is no good at all, that she is a hell of a business. And he tells me so, and he says, for God's sake, doctor, help me to get rid of that woman. He can't. He's like clay in her fingers. And that is the archetype. That is so-called archetype of the anima.
This contribution of Jung's Animus and Anima theory is not only of immense use in understanding relationship difficulties and the joys and richnesses of relationships, but is actually something, as with all the best ideas, that people, ordinary people, are doing anyway. That's a real acid test of all psychological theory. If it really turns out to be a description of what's happening, it's good theory.
Now, what the clip just showed you is that the anima and animus are powerful driving forces inside the psyche of people. So even though that they're small, they're extremely significant. And because they're hidden inside the dominant nature, their invisibility or lack of access is troublesome. And just like in the universe, that aspect of the animus or the anima wants to express itself in the outside world. But for this particular segment, we're going to focus in on men, and we're going to focus in on the anima, the female inside men. As the video showed, what do most men do with their anima when they're trying to realize it? They project it onto another woman, the actual female nature in the real world. Men are constantly looking for that Nawalt, that unicorn that will precisely project the anima that's inside him, that female nature that's trying to express itself inside of his own nature. So that man will jump through all kinds of hoops and go through all kinds of trials and tribulations just to keep that particular woman so that she will carry his anima for him. So that love at first sight, that attraction, that instant attraction, that hot girl, whatever is in the vision of that man's psyche, that perfect anima that he has, that's what he will go after. I mean, if you notice about yourself and about other men, men tend to pick the same type of woman over and over and over again, because men are constantly picking the woman that fits the picture of the image of his anima in his psyche. And as the doctor said in the clip, this is troublesome. Why? Because you're putting something outside yourself and giving somebody else control of that piece of your psyche or the piece of your soul that belongs inside of you. And when it's outside of you, you become a servant of it. Instead of when it's inside, it becomes a servant of you. And that's what the inner marriage is. The inner marriage is, for men anyway, fully realizing and fully growing that quote-unquote feminine quality, or that feminine nature that's inside of you, and then linking that with your own dominant male nature, and so that it can create positive feelings. It can positively affect what you create on the outside world. It is the two poles of the battery that are hooked up to an engine, just like the mystic marriage with Ptah and the noon coming together to create the universe. Just if Ptah is not completely realized, the universe can't be created. The same thing inside of you, if your noon or your anima is not fully realized, then you become stuck. You become a non-creative person. And then what will you do? You look to get married. You look to have a relationship. You look to have children, to charge up your creativity to actually do work. What MGTOW is actually about is about that inner marriage, developing that latent side of you, that anima inside of you, instead of projecting it upon another woman and giving that woman control. When that anima is outside of yourself, you protect and you provide for women and children. When that anima is inside yourself, you protect and you provide your ideas, your creations, your thoughts, your feelings. Instead of a half person looking for its significant other, you become a whole and complete person, capable of doing for oneself, and capable of being complete within oneself. Now, in this particular segment, we just skimmed the surface of the inner marriage and the anima and animus. I could always do a female side, but if the listeners out there want me to dive deeper into this particular subject, I can do a part 2, and we can go deeper into what a mature anima inside a man is and how the mystic marriage can help. We can get a little deeper into the dynamics of it. It is a lengthy topic, and it is very well studied, and there's been books and books and books written on the particular subject. So let me know. I hope this helps. Comment, make another video. Keep the conversation going.